So, good afternoon, everyone. Today's class, what is topic there? The topic is the primary and the secondary lymphoid organs. Primary and the secondary lymphoid organ. Why they are? What is the lymphoid organs and why they are primary and why they are secondary one? So, the primary lymphoid organs. These are actually the organs where the lymphs are there. Lymph nodes, lymph vessels. These are the things. And the primary lymphoid organ is also known as the central lymphoid organ. Why central? That may be the question. It is where the immature lymphocytes develops. Whatever we know that these lymphocytes or these cells which are responsible for the immunity, most are the blood cells. Now, where the blood cells will become matured or developed in the bone marrow, right? You are right. In the bone marrow, it is big developed. So now some of the cells are there. They are originated from the bone marrow. That is okay. But some of the cells become matured in some other places, like the lymphocytes, where the immature lymphocytes will coming out from the bone marrow. They will for a certain period they will become there in the lymph nodes and they will get matured, and that is known as the primary lymphoid organs. Organs where differentiation, proliferation and maturation of stem cells into immunocompetent cells take place. What is stem cells? Stem cells are the cells from which any kind of cells may develop. In this case, from one cell, one progenitor stem cell, all the blood cells can be developed. But not all the blood cells are responsible for immunity. Only some of the cells are responsible or involved in the immunity type of function. So those cells are matured in the primary lymphoid organ. So it is written that the primary lymphoid organs are the organs where differentiation, proliferation and maturation of stem cells into the mature cells. What are the mature cells? Immunocompetent cells. That means the cells which can show its immunity and it can compete with the other components, the invaders, the bacteria, the viruses who are entering in our body. They can compete with them, they can kill them and they can prevent us from all those infections. So their maturation, differentiation and proliferation occurs in the primary lymphoid organ. Now it is become clear, I think. Okay. Next is the, what are these organs? These the two types are there. One is the bone marrow. As you already know, the bone is having at the middle the marrow. Majority of the part is red one. Some of the marrows are become yellow. The red bone marrows are the active one, from where all the blood cells will become matured and developed. Second is the thymus gland. So thymus gland is the another primary lymphoid organ where the immature lymphocytes will become matured, differentiate, proliferate, or they will become mature such enough so that they can show their immunocompetent property. So now let me discuss one after one. Who is thymus? What is its function? Where it is located? How it is important? Okay. So that is primary lymphoid organ. Secondary lymphoid organ is that it is where antigen is localized so that it can be effectively exposed to mature lymphocyte. I am reading again. It is the secondary lymphoid organ is where the antigen is localized so that it can be effectively exposed to mature lymphocytes. That means these secondary lymphoid organs are the organs where the cells are not matured, not developed, not proliferate. So, but these are the organs where the mature, already matured lymphocytes are staying there, they are living there, and thereby they can effectively exposed to the antigen. If some antigen will get entered inside these secondary lymphoid organs, because already matured lymphocytes will there, these matured lymphocytes can act on those antigens or those pathogens and it will kill it. So that is the secondary lymphoid organs where the antigen is localized so that already matured lymphocytes can effectively expose to it and act on it, and they can save us. That is the secondary lymphoid organ. It initiates the adaptive immune response. If you can remember the adaptive immunity, what is that one? So it is actually the components, or it is the, it will initiate the adaptive immune response. Who? Secondary lymphoid organ. What are the secondary lymphoid organ? If you can remember, what are the primary lymphoid organ? Bone and the bone marrow and the thymus gland. And the secondary lymphoid organ includes spleen, lymph node itself, tonsil, that you know, appendix, that also you know. Another one is the Peyer's patches, which are present in our small intestine, that I'll describe. So this is all about the primary and the secondary lymphoid organ. Primary lymphoid organ are the organs where actually the immature lymphocytes will become mature into mature lymphocytes. They will differentiate, proliferate and mature into the cells which will show their immunocompetent property. Two organs, bone marrow and the thymus. Okay, and the secondary lymphoid organ is the organ where these mature, already mature lymphocytes will stay, that will expose to the antigen and that can act on the antigen. And this is also the organ which initiates the adaptive immune response. 5 organs are there: spleen, lymph node, tonsils, appendix and the Peyer's patches. Now I am going to describe one after another. First we have, that is okay, let me describe the bone marrow first. That is very known to us. Bone marrow, that is the part of primary lymphoid organ. So what is bone marrow? Simple thing. If somebody will ask, you can say the marrow which is present at the middle of the bone, inside the bone, that is the bone marrow. It is a soft, flexible and connective tissue in nature. This is actually a connective tissue, type of connective tissue. So that is the soft and the flexible, and this tissue occupying the medullary cavities and the calcareous spaces of the bone. Medullary cavities and the calcareous spaces which are present at the middle of the bone. These are the spaces which occupies, or where the marrow is present, which is known as the bone marrow. Two types of bone marrows are there. One is the yellow bone marrow, another one is the red bone marrow. When I was a younger one, a baby, then most of my marrows were actually red bone marrow. When a person's age increases, some of his or her bone marrows, red bone marrows, will become yellow bone marrows, yellow one. So actually red bone marrows are the most active and the yellow bone marrows are the less active or not active. Red, from all the blood cells will become produced from the red bone marrow, not from the yellow bone marrow. What is there in the yellow bone marrow? Yellow bone marrow stores some of the fats only, no other functions it has. So as the age matures, your production of new blood cells will also decreases because of decrease in the red bone marrow portion and increase in the yellow bone marrow portion. The red bone marrow portion will become yellow as the age progresses. Okay, that's all about the bone marrow. So the bone marrow is also the site of maturation of the B cells. B cells, another kind of cell, that is the B cells, T cells, that you know already. So B cells, it got its name because it matures in the bone marrow. That's why it is known as the B cell. Another cell we have T cell. That T cells mature in the thymus gland. That's why it is known as the T cell. And the B cell which matures, which proliferates into complete cell, mature cell in the bone marrow, that is known as the B cell. And the hematopoiesis. What is hematopoiesis? Did you remember what is hematopoiesis? All the production of all the blood cells from a progenitor cell or from a stem cell. The process through which from a stem cell all the blood cells will become mature, that is known as hematopoiesis. That was in your first semester, first classes. If you can remember that room number, what is there? Room number F29, F210, those big rooms. You are there. I can still remember those classes. So those are the uh, those are meant for the all the bone marrows and all these things. So that is the hematopoiesis. where the all the bone marrows, from the bone marrows, from the stem cells, all the blood cells will become mature. And there are a number of steps, 5, 4, 6 steps, after one, and finally we will get the RBCs, the WBCs, and all these things. Okay, so that is hematopoiesis. So bone marrow is the site for hematopoiesis. Also, it is the site for the maturation of B cells. Next is the function. What is the function of bone marrow? The function of bone marrow is that this bone marrow is responsible for the production of the immune system cells like B cells, granulocytes, NK cells, and immature thymocytes. So these are the four kinds of cells which are produced in the bone marrow, and all these are related with our immune system. What are the cells? B cells, granulocytes, NK cells. NK means natural killer cells. NK, natural killer cells, and immature thymocytes. Second function is it also produces RBCs and the platelets along with the B cells like WBCs. It will also, or granulocytes, it will produces RBCs and the platelets in the bone marrow. That's all. So bone marrow, if you can see the figure, this is the bone marrow. If I can enlarge, see the red bone marrow is there, in the middle some yellow bone marrow is there. Also the bones are having blood supply, the arteries and the veins through which these bone marrows can also getting the all the nutrients and whatever cells are prepared in the bone marrow through this blood supply, they can come out into our body, circulate in our body. So that is the bone marrow. Next, and which is a part of primary lymphoid organ. Next, we have the thymus gland. Just look at the location of the thymus gland, where it is present. That is the thymus gland. Another thing is that while our age matures, the thymus gland is actually present in the puberty. As our age matures, or when we are becoming a younger one, then almost our this thymus gland will become abolished or decay. It will decrease in size and it will abolish almost when our age matures. But during the pubertal stage, just a neonatal baby, the thymus gland is there. So what is that? So it is a small organ behind the breastbone, in between two lungs. If you look at the figure, that is the location of thymus gland. This thymus begins to decay or begins to atrophy during the puberty. Before birth, when we are in the prenatal stage, thymus gland is there. After birth, it was there. But during the puberty stage, what is puberty? Generally, if you can ask me, sir, at which stage puberty starts? Puberty starts before the adolescence. Adolescence is the age, since you are from the physiology, all are the students, you should know the adolescence is just age when there is hormonal changes occurs in the body, in case of girls, in case of boys also. So there are some kind of physical and the hormonal changes are going on. So that is the adolescent stage. Before that, the pubertal stage starts. So we can assume that it is around age 10 or 8, 9, 10, 11. These are the stages what we can term as the pubertal stages. So during puberty, there is decay of the thymus gland, but before that, thymus gland is present in all of our body. What is its function or how it is related to the building up of our immunity is that thymus produces progenitor cells. Some progenitor cells will be produced by the thymus gland, which matures into the T cells, which destroy the infected cells. So the T cells are produced in the bone marrow, okay, but it will become matures or develop into T cell, active T cell in the thymus gland. So T cell, that T name actually coming out from the thymus gland, T cells, and these T cells has the capability to destroy the infected cell. Remember, infected cell, not the antigen. Say for example, one cell is infected by some antigen. So how it will do? It can kill the whole cell so that the whole infected cell cannot destroy or infect the nearby cells. So T cells will destroy the infected cell, and that T cell is becoming mature in the thymus gland. Second function, it is the T cell created by thymus help other organs in the immune system to grow properly. T cells created by the thymus, it can help other organs in the immune system to grow properly. That T cells, I mean, that is the function of the thymus gland and the T cells together. Other organs are there in the in our immune system. It will help to grow of these cells. So these two are the primary lymphoid organ. Second, we are trying to enter into the uh, bone marrow is over. Okay, spleen, another important organ, spleen. Let us look where the spleen is located. See where the spleen is located. Can you identify? This is the stomach. This is the stomach. Then the pancreas is also there. Then the large intestine and the small intestine started. So very close to the stomach, the spleen is present in our abdominal cavity, inside our abdominal cavity. That is the location of spleen. Okay. So now read. Just I am reading what is written there. The spleen is the organ of immune system which is composed of T cells, B cells, natural killer cells, macrophages, dendritic cells, and the red blood corpuscles. So, this organ of immune system, I mean, these are all the cells which are involved in the immune system. All these cells. Now, production site for antibodies and activated lymphocytes which are delivered to the blood. The spleen is the site of production of antibodies and activated lymphocytes. Antibodies and activated lymphocytes are being produced inside the spleen. Then these all are delivered into the blood, so it will circulate throughout the body. Plus, spleen is having some function that it can store certain amount of blood. When there is emergency, there is contraction in the spleen, and that extra amount of blood is now coming to the circulation, and then now it will become part of our heart, and then heart can circulate the extra amount of blood also. That is the function. So more specific functions are: number one, spleen filters the blood and entraps the foreign material. Since spleen is having all the cells like T cells, B cells, NK cells, macrophage, dendritic cells, and RBCs, whatever materials are there in the blood, or if your blood is infected by some foreign particles, that foreign particles can be filtered, that foreign particles can be entrapped by the all the cells, immunocells which are present in the spleen. Second function is it provides defense against the blood-borne antigens. Second function of spleen is that it provides defense against the blood-borne antigen. Blood-borne antigen means if some antigen will enter into the blood directly, not by the food or by some other things, maybe due to some injection, or for example some patient is going for blood transfusion, he is having used blood loss, now he needs the blood transfusion. If that transfused blood is already being infected by some kind of pathogens, and now that infected blood is transfused inside the patient's body, now the patient is having the infection by means of blood. So that is the blood-borne antigens. The blood is having already in the antigen. I mean, antigen is already there. So by this way, so this spleen can also provide the defense against such type of antigen, because the spleen is the organ where that all the T cells, B cells, and all the cells are living there. So they can first scan it, filter it, and traps the foreign material, whatever present in the blood. That is the function of the spleen. Okay. Uh, okay. So the next we have among the secondary lymphoid organ, that is the lymph nodes. Lymph nodes. Look at its uh, structure, how it's looking. So lymph node, these all are the lymphatic pathways. These all are the lymphatic pathways, and you can, I mean, clearly visible the nodes, the dot. The pathway is there,
like the blood vessels, and some dots are there. These dots are the lymph nodes. Depending on its region, it may be termed as uh, uh, which are present in the cervical region, that is neck region, so those are cervical lymph nodes. If it is present in the axillary region, it is known as the axillary lymph nodes. If they are present in the lingual region, they may be inguinal lymph nodes, they are known as. So all these are nodes. So these are the lymph nodes. Now what are their functions? So lymph node means, don't be get confused. These are meant for the circulation of the lymph, not for the circulation of blood. Now, if you can ask me what is lymph, so lymph, we can say that lymph is a. Can you remember that? What is lymph? The definition is, simple definition is that lymph is a modified tissue fluid. Lymph is a modified tissue fluid. So this is not blood, but this will form from the blood. So the composition of lymph and the blood are almost similar except few things. Now, so lymph is the modified tissue fluid. Now the question is, what is tissue fluid? Is it a blood? No, tissue fluid is not the blood, but tissue fluid is that fluid which is formed due to filtration of the blood plasma, and they will accumulate in between the cells. In between the cells, not inside the cell, outside and in between all other cells. So these are the tissue spaces. So the fluid which is present in the tissue spaces are known as tissue fluid. How these tissue fluids are forming? By filtration from the plasma. And from this tissue fluid, lymph is formed, and this lymph is being circulated throughout the body to the extreme part of the body where blood cannot reach. This line may be written in some books. The extreme part of the lymph will circulate the nutrition and the respiratory gases to the extreme part of the body where the blood cannot reach. So, what is the extreme part of our body? The last finger, or the last part of our head. No, not that thing. The last part of our body means, the extreme part of our body means the deeper part, the deep section of our tissues, the deepest region of our, maybe a specific organ where blood may not reach. So even tissue fluid may not be there. So how they will get the nutrient? Because of presence of these lymph, and which will be circulated by these lymph channels or lymph ducts. So all these are the lymph channels which is circulating the lymph throughout our body, and in between them some nodes are there. That dotted portion are the nodes. So lymph nodes are there. Now these lymph vessels are meant for the circulation of the lymph throughout the body. That is okay. Now why the nodes are present? The nodes are having some specific function, and how they are related to immunity, that we have to address. Now see, look, now the lymph nodes are the bean shaped encapsulated structure. They are having no capsules, distributed throughout the body along the course of the lymphatic vessel. What is written? It is written that the lymph nodes are bean shaped without any capsulated structure, distributed throughout the body along the lymphatic vessels. As we have seen in this figure, that the lymph pathways are there, vessels are there, and in between these some dot like nodes are present. They are made up of mostly B cells, T cells, macrophages, and dendritic cells. This is the most important one. This is the most important one. The lymph node, where mostly B cells, T cells, macrophages, and dendritic cells are present. This is the important one. So, how it will affect our immunity because of presence of this? The lymph nodes act as an immunologic filter and drain the lymph from most of the body tissues and filter out if there is any antigen present. That antigen is now become exposed to these B cells, T cells, macrophages, dendritic cells. These cells will act on the antigen, and thereby they will kill or remove the antigen from our body before allowing the lymph to return to the circulation. That means, because of presence of all these cells, lymph nodes act as a filter. What type of filter? Immunological filter. That means what it is going to be filtered? It will filter out the the fresh lymph, and it can catch the antigen or foreign particle if someone is present in the lymph. That foreign particle is now being exposed to the all the immunocompetent cells. They will act, they will kill the cells, and now the lymph is become free, fresh. That fresh lymph is now allowed to recirculate throughout the body. So that is the lymph nodes, and that are the functions of lymph nodes, which is a part of secondary lymphoid organ. Next, secondary lymphoid organ is that tonsils. What are the tonsils? Very easy, common to all of us. The tonsils which are present in the just below, above the tongue, at the base of the tongue, tonsils are present there. If you can remember, see, these are the tonsils present on both the sides. Now, how they will impart their importance in our immune system or immunity? So, see, the tonsils are two masses of soft glandular tissues on either side or the back of the mouth, generally present on the base of the tongue above, and there are two masses of soft glandular tissues. They are having the glands and present on both the sides. What are their functions? Their function is similarly, see, all the functions of all the secondary lymphoid organs are not to mature the B and T cells. They are already having the mature B, T and other cells. So what is the function of secondary lymphoid organ? Their function is to filter the blood or lymph or whatever they are getting and trap the antigen or the bacteria if something, some bacteria or some antigen is present on that blood or lymph. So same function is doing by the tonsils. They can trap the bacteria and the viruses from the, not the blood, not the lymph, from the inhaled air. Because where the lymph, the tonsils are present, just look at the location. The tonsils are present in one of the opening of our body, that is the respiratory tract. So that I already told, that either respiratory tract, either urinogenital tract, either digestive tract, these are the openings of our body through which the foreign particles, the bacteria or the viruses, they can got enter directly inside our body. So one pathway is the respiratory tract, and these tonsils are present at the beginning of the respiratory tract. Not only this, along with this, we are having the saliva and mucous membrane. All this you know. So they are present in the beginning of the respiratory tract, and their function is to trap the bacteria or viruses if present in the inhaled air. They will trap, and the fresh air will become entering inside the body for the respiration. Okay, that is the tonsil. Uh, Next, we have appendix. This is also common to us. Appendix. See the location of the appendix. After the cecum, the appendix is present. The cecum means the region where the small intestine and the large intestine are joining. From that region, the appendix is originated, and it was considered that it is a non-functional organ of our body. In earlier days, maybe millions of years ago, it was functional, or sometimes it is considered that it was the tail which was present in our ancestors when they are maybe some monkeys or some other types of ancestors, and because of evolution of human being, that tail is now become reduced into a non-functional organ, that is in the form of appendix. Now this is having important function. This will impart some important role in the our immune system also. How? This appendix is a important part of our secondary lymphoid organ. Now appendix is the thin dead end tube measuring about 3 to 4 inches in length, and it hangs from the cecum. The function is the important one. What is the function? Appendix help the lymphocytes to identify exactly where they have to head over to attack the infection. What is that? What does it mean? The appendix helps the lymphocyte to identify exactly where they have to head over to attack the infection. Where they have to attack the infection, how they will start attacking the infection so that it will become cured. That is the appendix. The lymphocytes are playing their main role. Second one is that it also enhances the massive intestine's defense to a range of drugs and the foods. It also enhances the intestinal defenses to a range of, I mean, large ranges of from a large range of drugs or even other kinds of foods. So these are the two functions which are performing by the appendix, which is a part of secondary lymphoid organ. Is there someone? Yes, there is the someone more there remaining there. The secondary lymphoid organ, that is the Peyer's patches, the last one. What are the Peyer's patches? If I'll show you the cross sectional view of the Peyer's patches. The right side view is the cross sectional one, and this is actually the Peyer's patches which is present in the small intestine. So what does it mean, or where it is present actually, or what is the organ? Is it a single organ or what? The Peyer's patches are actually the nodules of lymphatic cells. The lymphatic cells forming some nodules. The Peyer's patches are the nodules of lymphatic cells that combine to make patches or bundles and appear generally only within the lowest part of the intestine. Okay, intestine means in the small intestine. So they are the nodules of lymphatic cells that combine to make patches or bunches and appear generally on within the lowest part of the ileum, that is the intestine. What are their functions? Their function is to detect antigens such as the bacteria or other toxins. Second, last important function is the Peyer's patches helps to mobilize highly specialized WBCs. I repeat, they help to mobilize or movement of specialized WBCs, that is the B cells. So they help in movement of the B cells to produce the antibodies. So they causes the activation of the B cells, movement of the B cells, and from that B cells the antibodies will be produced. Now antibodies will bind with the antigen. Obviously specific antibody will bind with specific antigen. Antibody antigen complex will form and they will neutralizes the antigen. Neutralize means they will either kill or remove the antigen from the body. So that is the function of Peyer's patches, and which is the last organ of our secondary lymphoid organ. So that's all for today's class. Thank you. Now you can ask your question.